Hello and welcome to part 2 of week 2. So we were looking at the 3-stage model of service consumption, and part 1 we had a quick overview of cultural norms and values. Now we want to get into stage 1, which is about pre-purchase. So within the pre-purchase we have needs arousal, and for those that remember from Principles of Marketing, needs are states of felt deprivation. So you feel deprived of something, so you're thirsty, you're deprived, or you're hungry, so you're deprived of food, or you're thirsty, you're deprived of drinking something. So these are needs arousal. Then we have information search, where we're looking for valuable alternatives. Then we evaluate those alternative options, perceived risk involved in undergoing a service encounter, the risk, uncertainty, aversion, so how much we want to stay away from that risk, strategies for risk reduction, and then information sources. So let's look at now the first part, which is need arousal. So the decision to purchase or use a service is triggered by an underlying need or need arousal. Now, needs may be triggered by people's unconscious minds, such as their personal identity, their physical conditions, such as their hunger or thirst, or these external sources, such as marketing communications. And of course, where we actively engage within these environments as marketing people, we have some kind of control over need arousal and basically communicating these ideas to people which make them want to buy things or engage in service behaviours, right? So let's have a look at now the next one, which is information search. So once the needs have been activated or aroused, and there's a state of felt deprivation there, customers are motivated then to search for solutions to satisfy those needs. Remember, you feel deprived of something, you want to solve that. Right, so then we have this concept of evoked set. Now, evoked set, there are several alternatives that the customer considers within the decision-making processes. So I'm going to ask you now as an example. So if you think about a drink, so if I go, imagine that you're thirsty, indeed you might even be, and you go, well, what would you use to satisfy that need, right? You go, oh, I'm going to go to the kitchen and get a glass of water. Or you go, oh, I'm going to go to the fridge and grab a can of Coke. Or I'm going to go and purchase out of a vending machine a Powerade or something like that. So within all these options, the ones that come to our head as viable alternatives to solve that is called the evoked set. So often these evoked sets then can be derived from past experience. If you go, well, last time I was thirsty, I went and bought a can of Coke, and that was great, solved my problem, right? So intuitively or instinctively, it's going to go, well, if I'm thirsty, why don't I just get another can of Coke? It worked last time, it's probably going to work this time, right? The other one is advertising. So if we are working for Pepsi then, and we're trying to get people to go, well, instead of, when you think about thirst, rather than only thinking about Coke, we want you to think about having a Pepsi as well. So if the consumers then go, oh, well, I'm thirsty, I want to satisfy myself with a drink, I might get Coke or I might get Pepsi. Great, we've done our job as marketing people, or to a certain extent, because they are in the evoked set then. The other one is retail displays, because when they think about engaging within a service, they go, well, hang on, there's a retail display there that's actually promoting the service, so therefore I'm thinking about it, therefore I can consider it, is in my evoked set. The other one is news stories. They hear about different solutions to satisfy their needs from news, and news often, because they're not being sold, they're often a bit more credibility in there. Online searches. So this is not when you specifically go searching for something, but you might have been searching for something else and it comes up there. So you're basically getting information about something that's later relevant. And then of course recommendations. This is extremely powerful, the recommendations. The more research we do into marketing, especially services marketing, the more we start to realise how important recommendations and customer referrals are in recommending one customer. So a customer recommends a business to another business, and it has a massive impact on customer loyalty and satisfaction. Alright, so now once you have this option within your head, you've got these different alternatives, you evaluate them. You go, well, if I'm going to have Coke or I'm going to have Pepsi, well then maybe which one is better. Well, should I have a Coke or should I have a Pepsi? So then, without really thinking about it that much, it kind of happens instinctively. We go, well, let's evaluate the products before we purchase them. And these are products such as clothing, cars, and sporting equipment, right? So when we purchase these ones, these are actually easy to evaluate on these search attributes. The other ones are experience attributes. So, and these can only be evaluated during purchase and consumption. And these examples include like holidays. So you can't actually evaluate a holiday by searching for it all that much, because you're going to search for a holiday, but how do you know if it's a good holiday, one's better than the other one? You can look at, price and the pictures and stuff like that, but it's going to be harder, because really what makes your holiday good is the experience that you have while engaging within that service, right? Also with the theatre, how do you know if the theatre is going to be a good experience beforehand or not? It's difficult to search for. When we do these search attributes, what we end up doing is customer referrals. But traditionally, it's hard to search for those things. Sporting events and restaurants. So all these are highly a part of the value we get out of these is the experience that we get through engaging with the service, right? And the next one is credence attributes. Now this is where services are impossible for consumers to evaluate. Now examples are financial planning. And I want you to think, if you get a financial planner comes to your place and they're going to talk about super investments and stuff like that, how do you know before time if their advice is good, if the service that financial provider has given you is good? You don't really know until a few years' time, when the advice that you've implemented starts making return on the investments that you made, right? So if the financial advisor tells you to invest in, just say, cryptocurrencies, and you buy a whole heap of Bitcoin, and then 10 years down the track, Bitcoin's gone, really well, and you go, yeah, that was really good advice that I got, right? So you know 10 years down the track. Whereas if cryptocurrencies actually crash, and then you go, well, that was bad advice. So you don't really know beforehand. So what you're really relying on is the credibility of the financial planner. And indeed, that's why in economies like Australia, our financial planners have to be registered or accredited. The other one is medical. You don't know if the surgeon is actually going to be a good surgeon until they start cutting you open and remove the skin cancer that's on your skin or whatnot. You don't really know beforehand, so you're relying on the credibilities of the surgeon. Legal with lawyers, the same with management consultant. This is a big thing for us at marketing, because we often do consulting, management consulting, where we are telling people or making recommendations about the decisions that they need to do for their business, to improve their business. But how do the business owners know that the advice that we're giving them is actually good? Is it valuable for their business? Are they getting value out of it? So that they're going to pay their invoice, but do they know they're getting good value for money? So we need to really consider that when we engage with those types of services. Now, another key part of the of this three-stage model is perceived risk. And there's different types of risk. There's functional risk, where we're concerned about the performance outcomes of the service. So how can I be sure that they'll actually service my car correctly? You don't know before you go to the mechanic. Unless you're a mechanic yourself, you don't really know what the mechanic's doing. And if you did know what the mechanic's doing, you'd probably be doing it for yourself anyway, or if you don't have the time to do it, but then you wouldn't really have the time to check as well. So you're really relying on the mechanic. So there's some kind of functional risk in there. Are they actually going to do the job that they're supposed to be doing? The next one type is financial risk. And that is, will I lose money if the investment recommended by this financial advisor, if I make that decision, am I going to lose money in the long run? So it could result in monetary loss or unexpected costs. The other one is temporal risk. And think about temporary as in time. So the risk of wasting time and consequences of delay. So will there be long queues at SeaWorld today? And you often get this, if you're in a hurry, you want to buy a coffee, you balance, one of the big things in my decision making processes is, do I actually have time to get a coffee before my next meeting? And what happens if the barista's really slow, or there's a lot of customers that are processing they're processing a lot of customer orders before me, and it ends up I have to wait 20 minutes for a coffee. They're going to be 10 minutes late for my meeting, right? So that's a big risk, right, for such a small purchase. Obviously, there's other types of temporal risk as well, like will the service at this restaurant be slow and be late for my next appointment? Will the renovations to our bathroom be completed on schedule? which is a massive issue in the construction industry at the moment. Right, so there's 3. The next one is psychological risk, and this is quite broad, but it talks about personal fears and emotion. So some of you might have this perceived risk right now, and you're thinking, will my lecturers actually understand that my English is my second language? Will they be cool with that? Will they be open to that? The other one is, will the consultant make me feel stupid? And as marketing experts, we need to be extremely careful with this, because there's a lot of things, especially now we're starting to do intermediate and advanced units in marketing. And as you do it with other marketing people, and if you talk with other marketing people and you engage with other marketing people and you work with other marketing people, some of these things seem really obvious to us. Then you go talk to a small business owner that they don't study marketing. They might be a mechanic, or they might be a baker, or they might have some other profession that they specialise in, they know a lot about, but their specialisation isn't in providing business advice, right? So then when we talk to them, we need to be extremely careful that the way that we talk to them, the way that we engage with them, we don't assume that they know the same knowledge that we do, and then when they ask a question, you're like, what? How do you not know that? Well, not that you'd say that, but that you think that. So we've got to be really careful and be really open to that. And it's quite a difficult thing to know what people don't know. The second last one is social risk, how others think and react. And this is a massive impact on consumers. And the crazy thing is that this is such a big risk and has such a big impact that people don't like to actually say it, right? So, and this one is, will my friends think of me if they know what will my friends think of me if they know that I use a no frills hairdresser? So, will my friends tease me about that? Will my relatives approve of the restaurant that I've chosen for our family reunion? There's nothing worse than you organising the family dinner and everyone gets there and go, oh, why'd you choose this one? This is the old one's better. So that's going to have a big social risk as well. Will my business colleagues disapprove of my selection of this consulting firm? So it's really about how we worried about our decisions are going to be impact the way that we interact and engage with other people in society. And the last one is sensory risk. This is where people are a lot more overt about this one, but that's unwanted impacts on the 5 senses. And this is, will I get a view of the parking lot rather than the beach from my hotel room? That's not really good. And will I be kept awake by noise from the guests in the room next door? Another one is noise, big one. If I go into that shop and I'm only get blasted with really loud music, it's going to be extremely unpleasant for me, which is becoming more of a issue these days as well. Alright, so now let's think about strategies for risk reduction. So we want to seek more information, especially from respected personnel sources. This is what consumers do, right? They rely on the reputation of the firm. If it is a successful firm doing well in the market, usually they understand these risks and done things to mitigate them, so their reputation helps us to be more secure that they do care about our perceived risks. Look for guarantees and warranties. Ask knowledgeable employees about competing services. Look for opportunities to try the service prior to purchase. And we get this a lot with software, 30 days free trial, because software companies understand that paying thousands of dollars for a software is a big risk when you don't really know what you're getting. So try it before you buy. And once you know what you're getting, then you can decide whether you like it. Search the internet for information. Remain loyal to the current service because they know what to expect. This is a big thing. Often customers remain loyal to us or our business not because they continue to think it's the best value, but functionally the best value, but sometimes they just perceive the risk of moving to another place as too much of a barrier for them to switch. The switching costs are too great and perceived risks. Look for professional credentials, really, really big. This is why the university likes to tell students that the lecturers that are delivering this knowledge to you, that we have PhDs, that we're doctors, and that's why we use, Dr. Kevin Swartz in a lot of things, because that's our professional credentials. Yes, we do know how to do research, we do know how to look for the latest knowledge on these things, and we are experts in this field. The last one is seek tangible clues or other evidence, physical evidence as a mean for assessing quality. And we're going to be dealing a fair bit with that later on about physical evidence, because this is a great way for us to help mitigate these perceived risks. A good one, just a quick example is the physical evidence of professional credentials is when you go into like the doctor's office or your general practitioner, your physician, they've got their awards displayed on there, or you go into a business and they've got, this is a registered business, these types of things. These are physical evidence which help customers to assess the quality of that service. Alright, so that ends part 2. Part 3 will be going through the next stage of the model.